Hello everyone, and welcome back to my channel. Well, today is July 4th, 2025, and do I feel excited? No, and I'll tell you why. But it's not what you think, believe it or not. Now, if you've been following me for a while, or you actually know me, you kind of know where I stand politically. And being transgender, of course, I am kind of the enemy of the state, according to this tyrant. It's a grand tale of irony that 260 years ago, people in this country fought a war to rid ourselves of a tyrannical dictator who didn't give a rat's ass about the people. And here we are again. But this time, this kind of happened willingly, and that kind of sucks. And but it's a little bit of the colonial era and the Third Reich all put together, and it's been very uncomfortable. But that's not why we don't want to celebrate the 4th of July. No, actually, the reasons are more personal than political. Now, let me explain to you. So here's the deal. I have a daughter, as some of you may well know, who is severely autistic. Now, what that has to do with anything? It's everything. You see, if you live in a big city, particularly, and I'm not trying to single out any ethnic group, but yeah, a lot of it is my people, as my wife would love to say. There are people who like to not only shoot off fireworks, I mean, some big ones, and yeah, I mean, well, it's cool. I mean, everybody wants to have their fun, okay. That doesn't bother me too much. It scares the shit out of my daughter, but that's not what really scares her. What really scares her are people blowing up M80s, okay? For those of you who don't know what an M80 is, it's like a miniature stick of dynamite. Now I understand, because it became rather clear to us this last New Year's, that there seems to be a more powerful piece of firecracker out there, and it's almost feels like it's military grade munition, and that's the M200. And evidently quite a few people have them, and what this does, when that thing goes off, doesn't matter if it's 200-300 yards away, it will shake the building. Not only shake the building, but it sets off every fucking car alarm. So, and I'm not trying to rain down on anyone's fun, okay, mind you. Okay, I like fun too, you know, I like fireworks, but you know, what happens here is that they start doing this at maybe 1:30, 2 in the morning, and will continue all the way till 6 a.m. My poor girl, I mean, I'd take her to see fireworks, okay, to try to calm her, reassure her they can't hurt her, you know, unless she's handling them herself. Try to explain this to her many, many times, but it does not sink in, because in some ways, I mean, you know, she's almost 14 years old. In certain rather tragic ways, she has not progressed beyond that of a 3-year-old, mentally and emotionally at times. Around other people, like some of her aides that she trusts, she can be almost a 6th grader, almost. But otherwise, she quickly reverts back to almost infancy. And it's very frustrating. It's like having a toddler that never grows up. And it's exhausting. You gotta wipe after them, you gotta feed them, you gotta do almost everything for them. And I worry what's gonna happen to this girl after I pass away. I mean, I'm not in the greatest health, and I'm no spring chicken. I mean, the way I live, I mean, hell, I could die tomorrow for all you know. But let's not plan on that, at least not for now. So, this poor girl, when she's not able to hear these things, okay, again, the fireworks scare her at night, but it's those M80s and the M200s that shake the building and set off every car alarm. And this will go on all night. And the poor girl is scared out of her mind and starts screaming and screaming and crying and thrashing about, and it's very, very stressful. Now, mind you, she's very small, but she has the strength of a full-grown adult. And for what strength I may have traded away in my transition, but neither myself nor my wife in combination can hold her down when she gets into a thrashing fit. And that's scary. It's not just scary for her and her brother, but it's also scary for us because, again, she's now at a physical capability where she can physically hurt us. And us being not young, it gets very easy to do. So, right now it's daytime, as you can see, and, you know, occasionally you're hearing a loud bang here and there, and there was quite a few last night, which I wasn't too thrilled about, but at least she wasn't too freaked out. Yeah, you could give her melatonin, you could give her a Tylenol to make her sleepy and stuff, but she's still gonna feel this shit, and it's gonna wake her out of her sleep, and she's gonna be twice as frightened, twice as freaked out, and God, it's like I said, it's murder on us. You know, it really brings back memories of my father who had served in Vietnam. He would be one of the only days of the year I'd ever see him smoke. I didn't quite realize it, or sometimes he would pull out his gun, carry it with him. You know, keep it out of sight though, of course. My dad tried to show everybody that he wasn't one of the crazies that went into the jungle. Well, 360 nights of having howitzer and mortar shells fired at your compound and landing within 100 yards of your hooch will definitely fuck up your sleep patterns and probably leave you pretty traumatized. And yeah, so, and that PTSD is a real bitch. You know, I haven't been on the receiving end of it because you are twice as short with people, you lose perspective, and you are reacting to pain and trauma. And I've met many combat veterans who have dealt with various forms of PTSD, and you know, I don't know how they've gotten through it, but I understand those who check out or just do whatever they can to numb the pain or the memories. They can run from it, they can get busy, they can do a lot of things. But when they feel that shake, they hear that bang, that concussion, it all comes back, and there's no hiding from that. My daughter doesn't have that luxury. She doesn't have that safety. She doesn't quite understand. As many times as we explained to her, the fireworks cannot hurt her. She is not within proximity. If it's gonna hurt anybody, it'll be the idiot who gets a wrong fuse and he's still holding the damn thing and it goes off and blows his hand off. And shit like that here does happen now and then, not too often, and you know, that would suck, but yeah, hey, you know, there's a reason why this shit's illegal, you know? I mean, again, I'm not trying to rain down on anyone's fun, but for me, and my wife, and my son, and especially my poor daughter, who, this is no fault of her own. Yeah, trust me, when we discovered the autism and cerebral palsy diagnosis, I mean, I disclosed probably before she was born every drug I've ever done, my hormone usage, my years living as female, and all the medications I took. And they assured me I couldn't have possibly damaged that child on any level because of so much time had passed. And they ran blood tests and they said I was in the clear. We're good. So what she had there was very likely genetic damage. And which I also carried genetic damage, and I inherit this. We don't have genetic damage in our family history. However, my father was an unintentional victim of Operation Ranch Hand in Vietnam. The U.S. government had this brilliant plan to deprive the enemy of the hiding spaces by killing off the jungle with this defoliant. made by 3M, DuPont, and Dow Chemical. And they told our soldiers it was safe, would only kill plants. So far, it's killed almost every person that I've known that was exposed to that, including my father. Again, I used to have a good friend in the film business who was kind of one of my protectors. Really nice guy named Rico Bueno. Love this guy, fellow Latino, and he always never judged me, And regardless if we were talking English or Spanish, I mean, his white trash partner didn't like me too much. But Rico, and yes, probably his most famous bit in Hollywood was playing Dr. Evil's henchman. One of them, at least. You see the part where they're all laughing in that first movie, all the bad guys, they're all together. It's the man wearing the turtleneck and got the little mustache and the sunglasses, the older guy. Yeah, that was Rico. He was a good man. He was also a loadmaster on a C-130 flying missions out of Okinawa. And he handled barrels and barrels. I mean, the size of oil barrels. And they would load it up. And they would spray this shit throughout the Central Highlands and along the Ho Chi Minh Trail. I mean, it was meant to, again, deprive the enemy. But they didn't understand the enemy they were fighting. I mean, should have talked to the French, but they thought the French were a joke. So they didn't listen to any sound advice and decided they were going to fight this war on American terms. But guess what? It doesn't always work in our favor when you think like that. You have to understand the terrain. You have to understand the culture. Anyway, that's a whole different story. I'm not going to get into that right now. But my child, unfortunately, because that genetic damage that totally screwed up my father was passed down to me. And I inherited some of the physical and medical problems, and some would argue some mental problems as a result of that. And my recent encounter with the Child Protective Services, they tried to actually use the fact that I am a descendant of Agent Orange against me as a reason for trying to take my kids away from me. It's like, Jay, you're looking for anything, aren't you? Bastards. Well, of course, that didn't fly. And that's frankly pretty shitty to do that. Use something that happened to somebody. It's no fault of our own. I mean, I was born 2.5 years after my father returned from country. And he had no idea. I mean, again, my father was a loyal soldier. He was loyal to the end. Even when he was on his deathbed, he refused to believe that his government fucked him over. He served almost his entire adult life defending this country, along with quite a few other people that came from Mexico City, where he came from. And so this assault on not only transgender veterans and active duty people, as well as Latino people, this is fucked up, considering the person that's ordering all this was a fucking draft dodger. Don't get me started. Anyway, that's, again, another story. But my daughter is a descendant. It turns out all my children, with the exception of my son, well, he's got a little Mike crazy a little bit here and there. Otherwise, he's the most stable of all my children. The rest are, they still don't know, because my adult children don't speak to me. And even if it would be a series of long conversations, and they'd have to understand what happened in the war. And so you motherfuckers under 40 who want to come at me and say, well, your father was a war criminal, fuck you. Well, man, he barely spoke English. He had just spent 2 years in the Mexican army to get his green card to cross over and become a U.S. citizen. And they drafted his ass and sent him to Vietnam before he was even officially American, And then he spent the rest of his life defending this country. So fuck you guys. You don't get to call him a war criminal. He didn't commit no atrocities. All he did was fix radios and retrieve dead bodies. I'd like to see some of you fuckers do that. Probably not in you. But then again, that was your generation. I know I couldn't do that shit. that would just rip me to shreds. You know, in 1969, my father once said at a funeral, very popular man, and my mother's side of the family had passed away. And my father was usually the life of the party. He would always talk to everybody. Everybody wanted to talk to him. But this was a funeral, and he'd been out of funerals before. But this one, just after the war, and for some reason it got to him, and he just became super quiet. And I always got nervous when he got quiet. And my dear aunt asked him, what's wrong? And he couldn't talk about it. The only thing he would say, and this was the final words I heard him say when he was still alive, when he was dying. And he said this over and over again. And this is what made me want to understand what happened in the war and what happened to me, actually. Because unbeknownst to him, he received that damage from Agent Orange, and it was passed on to me. And so I got all these fucking mystery elements and a little crazy and shit. And because my father refused to believe that his government fucked him over, he was in complete denial about it. Especially famously arguing with me as he held a bottle of Roundup, and I'm going, oh my God, you realize what you're fucking carrying? It's the same shit. That shit's gonna kill you. A year later, he was on his deathbed. And he said, well, maybe that stuff was bad for us. Duh. Shit. Look, all four of my kids are kind of fucked up in various ways, but my daughter, my youngest daughter, Mia, the one I have currently raising, she has it the worst. And it's a tragedy because we don't know how she's going to make it in this world. We really don't know. You know, I pray like a John Glenn or Scott Kelly, one of the Kelly brothers, would take care of her, It's a guy like that, maybe. I don't know. Maybe a girl. I don't know. It doesn't matter to me. So long as somebody takes care of her, because I ain't going to live forever. And that's the tragedy of this shit. So, again, all this trauma that she goes through, it reminds me of the trauma I experienced from my father. Blast would be just loud enough to shake the ground. My father hit the floor. And the worst, well, I didn't see the worst part of it. My mother would tell me about this after he died. He would break into cold sweats, thought someone was coming to kill him. Oh, I get that shit. And, 7 nights in the LA gulag did a number on me. I mean, fuck, I still have nightmares about that shit. But that's beside the point. Scary times and shit. But anyway, so, like I said, because we're in for a long night, and I'm really tired because some jackass drunk had to break into our building and the building next door and basically had everybody up. Welcome to Hollywood. Well, it doesn't always happen, but now and then. So I'm a little sleep deprived. And this is going to be an all-nighter because that girl is probably going to be very frightened. And we're going to do the best to comfort her and reassure her. These are just people having fun, and yeah, some people just being rather inconsiderate, and others, they don't know. They don't know, but sadly, I think a good number wouldn't care. That's what our country's become. It's really sad. So, do I want to celebrate the 4th of July? Fuck no. I don't know. It's been a long time since I've had any interest in the 4th of July because of this situation with my daughter. But given the current political climate and the fact that RFK wants to kill my daughter and Donald Junk and his fools would love to have a piece of me. Yeah, not too keen on flying it. That's why I won't be flying no American flags for the time being, just like before. If I die beforehand, you can bury me in the transgender flag because that's the only flag that represents me at this point. Anyway, I hope if you are celebrating that you have a safe 4th of July. If you're not celebrating for be it reasons similar to my own or for politics, I understand. And I mean, this country is built on a lot of resilient people that are survivors. But right now, this country is an alien nation that needs therapy right now and doesn't even know what it's about anymore. And at some point, the head of the Hydra will fall. And when that happens, the whole machine will collapse. And should we live to see that day, maybe we'll see them stand trial. Well, I don't know. But I hope one day we'll be able to celebrate the 4th for what it originally meant. You know, independence, a little freedom, things that King George didn't want us to have, which are strangely the very same things that Donald Trump doesn't want us to have. Yeah, we'll see how this plays out. All right, folks, be safe, okay? I mean it, you know? Don't take unnecessary risks because law enforcement feels a little emboldened. And there are a lot of people out there pretending to be law enforcement. And as many of you are aware, people are buying tech gear, police equipment, and patches and Kevlar. And of course, some of them already have weapons. And they're pretending to be, they rent vehicles, unmarked vehicles, and pretend to be cops. So don't answer the door. Somebody shows up, you know, you don't know them. They claim they're police. Demand a warrant. Otherwise, you don't have to give up your 4th Amendment rights. I don't give a shit what these motherfuckers say, okay? But be safe tonight, all right? Be safe. Take care. Always remember to subscribe and like my channel and be good to each other. Love you all. Take care. Bye.